holiday.
Yes, and my husband's out of town right now, so even more worried out.
We are live. Don't tell any secrets. Okay. You wouldn't want not 3 people to know. Hi, everybody. Okay, looks good.
I sleep well.
Indeed. I only had 2 and I slept really well. It's like I can never do enough sleep. Is that the Bible your husband uses?
No, this is an NIV. The study Bible or the Methodist?
Because he makes comments from time to time
About what it says, yeah. So he has an NIV like this one, but it's a study Bible, and so it has like comments on the, I don't know what, like it only goes about here, and then it has like comments down here about the verse. It's nice.
Yeah, it's really nice.
I think yeah.
Hi guys. When you interject sometimes, it's like, oh, that's so interesting. And he'll say, well, here it says whatever.
Yeah.
That's so helpful.
Yeah.
I took the things into context. Are they having Hyatt tonight?
So yeah, it's over at the with the youth.
Okay. So they're like, okay,
Yes.
meeting with you. Okay, I will let Jess know. Is Jessica here?
Yeah, she's over, and she texted me, but sometimes she stands here first, so I said today I stand here first, make sure she wasn't standing here, and then,
Okay.
yeah, then they went over with the youth. She likes to call on your thing.
Hi, honey, how are you?
Good.
Hi, honey, how are you?
All right.
Pastor Jeff, can I tell you about one of my most favorite Pastor Jen movies?
Oh, sure.
Okay, I'll be right back. Shortly after she got to Heights, apparently the chaperones or whatever fell out for us taking the youth to Glen Lake for a day, something. So she asked me to go with her. And so we're leaving at 6 o'clock in the morning. But the neatest thing is the morning work at the morning. I saw your wife, Jackie, song in Belton, Two Glorious Day.
Well, there we go.
And that's what I was listening to as I was.
Oh, were you? Okay.
That's what I was listening
Cool.
to as I was reading, and that is just, and I didn't really know her yet, but as soon as I saw her, I mean, she was actually jumping up and doing the pogo. And
She would?
She's like, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm gonna love this lady. I mean, she just, that's one of the memories of her that's gonna stick with me for.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Hi, for people online, good to see you. Everyone here, good to see you. We got about 47 seconds yet.
The traffic is really tight coming in.
Traffic is really bad.
Up north 317.
So wait.
Everybody would be going away with their.
Wait a moment. Give it an extra moment tonight. We can do that. We can give it an extra moment. Are you all out next week?
Yeah, we leave tomorrow.
Right, and then so you're
And then
not.
we'll come, we'll be back tomorrow. We come back on Sunday. We're next to short.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Okay, I might recruit you all for next Wednesday. I'll recruit Caitlin for next Wednesday. I'm gonna recruit you for next Wednesday.
Okay, I will be here.
All the way on the traffic.
it's just one person on both lines.
Oh, wow.
Are you wondering if we're online or?
No, I have a voicemail.
Cool. Well, we'll start in just a moment. All right. Siri just told me it was time to start. And Siri is in charge of everything now in the world. So, don't. Now Siri was trying to answer me because I said her name.
She's like, okay, said the next word, what do you want?
Everybody doing good? Yeah? Wonderful. All right, for those joining us online, welcome. Welcome, everybody. So glad you're here. So we have tonight and next week. And then we'll take, yes, ma'am?
I haven't read next week's in the book, but I read Esther 10.
Uh-huh.
There doesn't seem much to it. It's just like,
Very short.
yeah, it's
So next week we're going to have some fun. Bring a noisemaker
okay,
and a snack to share.
okay.
I always bring a noise.
Always bring a noisemaker. Ember, you count. But next week you got to make lots of noise. We'll cue you when we point at you. You yell.
That's right.
So for next week, I need someone to be Esther.
I'll do it.
Thank you. We need a narrator. Narrator?
Sure.
Okay. I need the king, King Xerxes. I'm gonna do the stage props. Setting the Persian Empire during the reign of. I need a king. Thank you. It's gonna be a long night. Do you think you can talk Dominic into being king?
I'm not sure if Dominic will be here. So
Okay, so you don't want to commit him?
Yes.
All right. Mordecai.
Yeah.
Who wants to be Mordecai? Marvel. Mordecai.
No.
Queen Vashti. It's not a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. I still need the king. Oh, no, we have the king. Okay. All right. Haman. Who wants to be Haman?
Who wants to be the bad guy?
Come on. Who fills the character building of a little villain?
No.
All right. If no one else, we'll see who else comes. If not, I guess I get to be. I'll have to get into character.
Yeah, I don't know where Donna is. She was at Park Place this morning.
Well, she could be stuck in traffic. All right, so next week, we're going to do a little bit of the festival that you read about. And part of what they do at the Festival of Purim is they read it. They read the whole story. And the noisemakers come in whenever the name Haman is read. You get to do your noisemaker.
Okay.
If you don't bring a noisemaker, we'll provide some spoons for you. Okay? To do spoons, make noise. It's a lot of fun. And a snack, because that's, does anybody watch the show, remember the old show called Quantum Leap?
Yes.
Okay, is anybody watching the new one?
I can't get into it.
All right, so,
I
does
keep
anybody,
forgetting it's on.
well, the new one, he went, and then, there was a rabbi, and there was a lot of hate crimes going against the Jewish community, and the rabbi just made a comment about, people try to kill us, we overcome, and then we eat. That's what we do. So it kind of sums up Esther, and that's what we're going to do next week. So we will eat as part of the celebration with a snack.
So people try to kill us and then we become Methodist.
Yes, so we can eat. Yes. All right, let's pray. God, help us to experience your presence, to feel your presence, to be assured of your presence here this evening. God, continue to fill us with the power of your Holy Spirit. Illuminate our hearts and minds, that as we study this story of salvation, that we would live as your people, being willing to put self-interest aside for the salvation of others. Amen. All right, well, yes, Beth.
One more question about the snack for next week. Are we talking a snack for us or a shared snack?
Shared snack. Nothing too big. Just a little shared snack. So we can have a little plate. Grapes, just something small. Symbolic. Okay, let's look back. Let's go back to chapter 7, because it's been a couple weeks, and let's just pick up those last couple of verses on chapter 7 before we get into chapter 8. So we'll just read those last 2 verses. Harbona, one of the eunuchs serving the king, said, "Sir, look, there's the steak that Haman made for Mordecai, the man who spoke up and did something good for the king. It's standing at Haman's house, 75 feet high. Impale him on it," the king ordered. So they impaled Haman on the very pole that he had set up for Mordecai, and the king's anger went away. All right, now let's jump into Esther chapter 8, verses 1 through 3. Who would like to read that for us? Thank you, Diane.
That same day, King Xerxes gave Queen Esther the estate of Haman, archenemy of the Jews. Mordecai came before the king because Esther had explained their relationship. The king took off his signet ring, which he had taken back from Haman, and gave it to Mordecai. Esther appointed Mordecai over Haman's estate. Then Esther spoke again to the king, falling at his feet, begging with tears to counter the evil of Haman the Agagite and the wicked plan that he had plotted against the Jews.
Okay, so here we have Esther in front of the king again. And between those 2 verses, 2 and 3, there's some time that elapses, but we have no idea how much. The first couple of verses, they're there. And the same day, referring to, of course, the same day Haman was impaled on the pole. And King Xerxes gives Queen Esther all this. Now look at the place that Mordecai now holds. Okay?
It's the one Haman had a second ago.
Yes. Now Mordecai is elevated, right? We have this elevation of Mordecai. Okay, so Esther is going to go to the king. She's there. And what does she want to have happen? What?
She wants the king to overthrow what Haman did.
Yeah, just not, Haman's already done.
Yeah.
He wants the
Okay.
evil plan done too.
Yeah.
Right.
Can you just
Everything might
revoke the law that you just passed a second ago?
So a question is, why didn't the king already order that? He ordered Haman impaled. He knew about the plan.
The king isn't all that smart.
I think that's right.
He has to have somebody remind him, hey, there's still this thing.
Yeah.
He didn't write it, so he
Didn't? Yeah.
didn't write it.
He may have forgotten about it completely and everything that happened. I mean, he doesn't seem to be very much on the ball.
He did remember to get his ring back.
That's
Yes.
true. He did, yeah.
But I mean, so he thinks I took care of this one person, so I'm done, right?
Yeah.
I've taken care of the problem. Yeah, not so smart, very myopic, huh? I mean, because it seems he's concerned for what's happening within the palace. You know, just not going to, I just got to focus on this here. I'm not going to worry about that out there.
Maybe he's just not good at multitasking.
That's probably true as well.
You what?
Not good at multitasking.
Yeah, I think he only can grasp one thing at a time. One
Just like
one
the day.
request at a time, and then wait for the next thing to happen.
Yeah.
It is late in the day, he may have had a little wine.
Probably, yeah. Yeah, all great input. And I started thinking about, he just, okay, we're good in the palace now, so that's all we got to worry about, right? And then I started thinking that, well, there's other times that mindset happens, right? We're good in here, so why do we need to keep worrying about out there? Even that can happen in the church, right? You become that inward focus on that. So sometimes I don't think any of us want to see ourselves in the biblical story with King Xerxes. But as long as it's good in the palace, we're okay. As long as I'm okay, everything's okay, right? So we're in chapter 8. I have a script for you for next week. You can either you can be like the director and give the stage directions and the settings, or you can be Haman.
That's what's left to find out like
Yes, it is. So which one would you like? And you can think about it, just let me know for next week.
Okay.
And I can take the other one. So like you would read setting, scene 1. Or you can be Haman, which would be a lot of fun.
But then if you read on in chapter 8, like King Xerxes doesn't even come up with the solution. He just passes it off.
Yeah, he passes the ring on.
Yes. Yeah.
It's like he did with the other guy, with Haman. He handed him the ring, he said, after all of it be fine, and he's doing exactly the same thing again. Only in the opposite direction.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like I don't have 2 brain cells to think about what my name is, let alone what to do with the Jews.
Well, but see, he doesn't take responsibility.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you delegate everything, you don't have to be held responsible for anything, right?
It's not your fault when it blows up.
I mean, that's really inappropriate delegation. I don't want to take the pushback for this decision. Right? I mean, we've been talking about temptations on Sunday in the sanctuary. I think that's a temptation. I don't want to have to take responsibility. I don't want to deal with the pushback, so I'm going to push it off on others. And there's a difference between pushing it off and collaboration, of course. Collaboration and collegiality and working together and getting the input, that's different from just saying, no, I don't. So, all right, well, I know we read 3, but let's read 3 again. So 3 through 6, if somebody would read that for us.
Esther again pleaded with the king, falling at his feet and weeping. She begged him to put an end to the evil plan of Haman the Agagite, which he had devised against the Jews. Then the king extended the gold scepter to Esther, and she arose and stood before him. If it pleases the king, she said, and if he regards me with favor and thinks it the right thing to do, and if he pleased with me. Let an order be written overruling the dispatches of Haman, son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, devised and wrote to destroy the Jews in all the king's provinces. For how can I bear to see disaster fall on my people? How can I bear to see the destruction of my family?
Yeah. Okay, so let's look at, we see what's happening, so the royal scepter is extended again. But this is, now Esther is really getting into it, right? And she's acting again and getting into it. So would somebody look at verse 13 of chapter 4, Esther 4:13, read that, and then I want to hear, let's read verse 6 again, and let's kind of look at the comparison on those two. Ann, do you need to borrow Bible? We have. No, it's okay. Don't. Nobody bring it. Everybody has them on their phone.
I didn't even have a phone.
Oh, okay. You want to borrow my phone? Okay.
4:13. This is, I'm using New Living Translation.
The which one?
The NET
Okay.
version. He said to take back his answer to Esther. That's what chapter 4, verse 13 says.
It doesn't say anything else. That's all it says.
So if I read the 4, if I start at 12, when Esther's reply was conveyed to Mordecai, he said to take back this answer to Esther. Don't imagine that because you are a part of the king's household, you will be the one Jew who will escape. If you keep quiet at this time, liberation and protection for the Jews will appear from another source. While you and your father's household perish, it may very well be that you have achieved royal status for such a time as this.
Okay. So what is Mordecai saying to Esther there? What do you think the mindset of Esther is for Mordecai to make that kind of statement?
I think that he's looking out for her.
He's looking out for her. Yes. The plot, this is back where the plot gets revealed. I'm sorry, what else?
It's a reality check
Reality check for who?
for Esther.
And what's the reality check?
Don't forget you're a Jew. Because she's a Jew. And she would be treated like all Jews.
But
Yeah.
she's not safe just because she's in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sandy?
She's not going to be insulated.
Right, she's not going to be insulated. She's not going to. So it's almost like you get this idea that she was thinking, but I'm in the palace, I'm a queen,
So I'm going to say.
so I'm okay. Now look at verse 6 of chapter 8 again. And Sandy, would you read that again, please?
For how can I bear to see disaster fall on my people? How can I bear to see the destruction of my family? To 8.
No, that's fine. Just 6. Yeah. So do you catch the tone, the difference in the tone and what's happening? And now this plea that they are mine, part of, I'm with them, and she is willing to really abandon her self-interest at this point for the salvation of others, and to look at her own, to look at their own interests. So there's identification now with them. And let me just read this quote. Susan Robb, in her book, it's called Call, Hearing, Responding to God's Voice. And there's 6 biblical characters she writes about. Esther is one of them. And she says, I love Esther's story because I think hers is much like our own. We are called almost daily to open our eyes to the small and large injustices and problems that surround us. And often we are uncertain if it is God's voice we hear calling us to act.
No.
And I read that, I just thought, amen. Right? So with in mind what Esther is doing, Esther felt, this is in our little book on page 39, question 3. Esther felt deep concern and compassion for her people. What person or group of people would you like to have that same kind of concern?
Say that again.
For what person or group of people would you like to have that same kind of concern that Esther portrays here?
Family.
Family?
We hope the church. Family.
What, Sandy?
Anybody.
Anybody.
Yeah.
I have, that's concerned that for the big underdogs, whether it be underdogs because of financial circumstances or physical disability or mental disability, you know,
Mm-hmm.
somebody that has some sort of disadvantage. You know.
Okay.
Children living in poverty. Children living in poverty.
Children living in poverty. Okay. I think maybe because I had the opportunity to go down to the border back in August, and saw the people that did not cross illegally, but waited at the bridge, waited. Like to have a deep concern. I mean, people that traveled through 11 countries to try to get here. And so and then of course we have the Ukraine situation and all those refugees that Poland and others are taking in, that some are coming here. Some people are okay with that, but they're not okay with letting people over from the southern border, even if they come going through the process. And then I got to kind of ask, okay, what's the difference? And we got to ask ourselves that, what's the difference? So I think, for those that are willing to, those because of circumstances, they don't feel safe, like Ukraine or that the kind of concern that Esther has, I would like to have that to that level and try to inspire that in others as well.
One of the things I thought was interesting was when all of the border stuff happening, we had more problems with our neighbors to the south, with people coming up than people from the north coming down. And I don't know why I don't know why there would be that disparity. People are coming in our borders, coming to smuggle people. No. I mean, even if they come illegally, it seemed that there was more to say about people coming from the southern nations, coming up from Mexico and down, and coming down from Canada.
Canada's just one country. You got all kinds of states south.
Well, yeah, but I
get what you're saying. There
The
was
population.
more. Yeah, it was almost concentrated more on the south than people coming from the north.
Yeah. Yeah, we hear you. You're right.
Okay.
So thinking about these groups and your responses, so I like question 4, the second part of the question as well. How might you develop this kind of compassion? Or how can we express that kind of compassion? What can we do as a church with the things that you have said?
I think we as a church are not doing enough for people outside the church.
Okay?
I think that we're not doing enough for people who need the most. That's not the answer to your question.
Well, no, I mean, so that describes the reality.
That's my constant thought.
Okay. So is there something that could be done?
That's the question. What could we do
Okay.
with the resources we have?
Well, so what else could we do with the resources we have? Yeah, it's a great question. And we do have some resources.
But we do some.
Huh?
We love.
We do some. We got the back to school with God thing, but we
Yeah, we do some.
we do some.
There's always more.
All right, every month, our UWF group, every month, we take a totally separate donation that is used in Belton
Uh-huh.
for different groups that need help.
Right.
Every month we do that. Well, we can.
And yet we know there's still more need. We can't ignore that. So, I mean, the question for me that I have to ask myself is, what can I do? Was able to be on that trip to the South, and then, I don't know, a month later, or maybe 6 weeks later, the bishop said, so what are your thoughts now about the trip? What more have you thought about? I have all kinds of thoughts. Of what we can do as a church. Huh? And what are some of them?
Yeah.
So, from what the Border Patrol agent, one of the things that really stuck with me on what he said about how churches can help, and I mean, in addition to, hearing other stories than what gets on the news, how many babies they delivered out of that office to women that were trying to cross, and their agents deliver these babies. The agents, they'll have a brown bag lunch. A lot of times they'll have 2. Most days they give those away to people. There's sacrifice. They get paid well, and they admit that, but they're still doing this. And then he said the centers where they're staying, like the detention centers, if they could do more like what Catholic Charities is doing, to have that place so the Border Patrol agents aren't there having to watch these people that aren't going to do any harm, and they can get back out to the field, but they're having to do this shelter watch. Either people or monetary support to help so the organizations down there can do more. So partnering with organizations down there as a church. Across the border, we have 2 buses. They sit there most days. Sometimes one will get used. We could actually donate a bus to the churches there in Mexico so they can do more work and help, or even provide, like United Women in Faith sent money. Those churches are providing water and little packets of cheese and crackers for people that have been traveling. We can do stuff like that. You know, I mean, and instead of trying to reinvent the wheel, partner down there, but have a real partnership with people that are already doing it. They know the need better than we do. They see it, they're on top of it. And of course, as the Border Patrol agent said, and the person from the church that does the ministry down there said, and Catholic Charities, you know, this is dynamic. It's a dynamic situation. It evolves, and so there's things like that. You know, maybe this coming year, it's a long time from now, but Christmas Eve will be here before we know it. You know, Amy's House is a wonderful organization. Our Christmas Eve offering could be split between Amy's House and ministry at the border. You know, that's something.
I think that's what makes this question hard to answer. How might you develop compassion for them? Is because we're trying to reinvent the wheel of how to develop that compassion. When we could just maybe look at the wheel as it is and find ways to branch from it.
And part of it is the compassion. How do we develop within ourselves?
Yes.
So temptation for me, okay? Not everybody is on board with something like that.
Yeah. No, I understand.
A lot of people aren't.
Yeah.
I think it's really good
But
for some people to have compassion toward some and no compassion toward others. When you see that, it just, to me, it doesn't make a lot of sense because Jesus said, love thy neighbor. He said, love thy neighbor you approve of, love thy neighbor if you think they'll use that money right, love thy neighbor if you think they're doing. And, I mean, it's just, he made this blanket statement, but as human beings, we come with baggage. We all come with baggage.
And yes, and I even have there's some areas in Belton that our church is not reaching out to that I wish we would do more.
Exactly. How about around here?
Yeah, I mean our immediate neighborhood.
What are we spending our resources on?
Well, that's a great question.
What is our mission? And are we spending our resources on the mission?
On the mission. There you go. Excellent point. Would you write that down, because that's going to be our question at church council. We look at how we're using.
I can tell you that the other week I think about it.
That's fantastic.
What is our mission? And are our resources furthering our mission?
Yeah. With the one board that we have, that's the three administrative groups, on the top of the agenda is aligning our resources with the mission.
Any business should be doing that.
I mean, that's.
You learned that. I learned that.
I bet you did.
Many years ago.
And
if you're not working on what the mission is, you need to stop doing what you are doing and get back to the mission.
Right.
Change the mission.
Or change the mission.
You can work on the mission or change the mission. I mean, if you want to have a mission, you're not going to work on it. I mean,
I totally agree with you. Oh, yeah.
So.
We have a mission.
We do. Make disciples of Jesus Christ for
Transformation of the world.
Transformation of the world.
It's like when we handed out those Easter things last year when we were at Bell Oaks.
Yeah.
You were like, we should have the Bible study or the vacation Bible study here because those kids can't get here.
Right.
Why can't we go there?
Yes, we take Vacation Bible School to them.
Yeah.
And I do have a passion for that. Of course, I know where that comes from. So I don't know, and I'm not trying to garner sympathy or hope, any of that. So Bell Oaks, you all know it's Section 8 housing.
Okay.
Right? A place like,
I live close by it.
you live close by it. Well, during middle school and senior high, I lived in it. Now, not Bell Oaks here.
Yeah, but
It was Bell Oaks in Michigan, but it was Section 8. And we went to schools like Belton High School that had much more income level was up here and we were here.
Melrose is also a section 8.
yes.
But Melrose is not anywhere near the horrible conditions that Bell Oaks is.
Yeah. Oh no. I used to live in Melrose apartments before they did all of the.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I used
So
to.
you're
I
familiar,
used to.
but
I'm
yeah.
very familiar with that kind of situation.
There's great things.
That's how I know about.
Where are these located?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Miller Heights. The apartment's behind Miller Heights. If you don't go at nighttime.
Well, I understand that. I've taught in the city for a long time.
Yeah.
You know, if we give supplies to nurses, school nurses at Miller Heights and at Southwest
Yeah.
and at South Belton Middle School. We've got supplies several times.
Wow, that's fantastic. All right. See what the story of Esther can do for us? All right, well, let's continue with the story, verses 7 and 8. Who would like to read?
King Xerxes replied to Queen Esther and Mordecai the Jew, because Haman attacked the Jews, I have given him the stake to Esther, and they have impaled him on the pole he set up. Now write another decree in the king's name, in behalf of the Jews, as seems best to you, and seal it with the king's signet ring, for no document written in the king's name and sealed with his ring can be revoked.
We got that one, didn't we? Got that one.
Well, how can they say that if what they're doing is trying to revoke what they do?
I'm sorry, ask that again.
They have to write another document overriding it. They can't
Revoke it.
Yeah, they can't revoke it. Yeah, they can't revoke it.
That's one of the questions.
What?
That was one of the questions on 8 and 8.
Yes, go ahead.
Number 5.
Yeah. Go ahead and read it.
How did the edict that Mordecai issued, verses 11 through 13, provide what Esther was asking for in verses 5 and 6 without breaking the first edict of 3:12 through 14?
So why couldn't the first one be revoked?
Because it has a seal. It has the king's seal on it.
He's the king.
I didn't think he did anything for granted.
Okay, I changed my mind.
Checks and balances.
Couldn't he say I changed my mind?
No.
Why?
He doesn't make a mistake.
Because what?
He doesn't make a mistake.
That's exactly right.
He doesn't have to.
Or if he does those oopsies, somebody's going to go, okay, you don't need to be here anymore.
But he doesn't make mistakes.
This is true. In his mind, he doesn't make mistakes.
Here we have a king that does not change his mind.
Because he doesn't do nothing. He has everybody else do everything.
And yet, when you think about the story, and this is one of the wonderful little ironies to pick up in the story of Esther, they follow a God where we hear more than once that God changed God's mind. Even God changed his mind. But this king won't. Yes, and there's just no humility. Right? Been listening to a great book on leadership, and it really hit hard today. been changed within the organization or corporation, competency was not as competent. Humility was. That's what I discovered. Because we get measured by competence. But humility, when they look at leadership, and those leaders that really make a change, anybody ever remember the show Cover Boss? The change, I mean, you see all of a sudden the humility at the end of the episode that comes in, and then they start, make changes, and they go, more than the change to our company, whatever it is, it changed me. Okay. All right, now we're going to see a lot of key stuff. So, 9 through 14, and then what we're going to do is we're going to look at 3, 12 through 15, and we're going to kind of compare the two views. All right, so we like to read 9 through 14.
So that was when the oil trial was on the 23rd day of the third month, that is month of Joab. They wrote exactly what the Mordecai ordered to the lords, governors, and officials of the province of Edom, 127 in all. They wrote in the alphabet of each province and in the language of each people. They wrote in the name of the king.
So one look at that, and then let me just read from chapter 3, the first one. So they wrote in the name of King Xerxes and sealed the order of the kings were ordering. Fast runners were to take the order to all the provinces of the king. The order commanded people to wipe out, kill, and destroy all the Jews, both young and old, even women and little children. This was to happen on a single day, the 13th day of the 12th month. They were also to seize their property. A copy of the order was to become law in each province and to be posted in public for all people to read. The people were to be ready for this day to do as the order commanded. Driven by the king's order, the runners left Susa just as the law became public in the fortified part of Susa. While the king and Haman sat down to have a drink, the city of Susa was in total shock. Okay, so let's compare and contrast similarities and differences between the two edicts. And there's probably some troubling questions within this. So, similarities, differences.
We are killing everybody and taking everything from the Jews. Killing all Jews and taking everything from them.
Okay.
Still.
So a killing of all, right? Taking everything.
on the 13th day of the 12th month.
Yeah, same day.
Okay, and this is initiated, right? This is, let's say, offensive.
Okay.
Right? This is an attack, right? Okay.
And they're supposed to plunder their goods.
Yep. Take everything, plunder the goods. So in the one with Mordecai,
It was defensive.
it is
It was
defensive.
supposed to be armed men that they were killing.
Yeah.
Anyone who's going to harm them.
Right. It is simply defensive. But they are allowed to defend themselves. And what about taking property? Is that allowed?
Yep.
Yeah. They can take the property of the ones that attack them, right?
Right.
Yes, they could also keep anything their attackers own.
Right. The attackers, though, right?
Yes.
Right.
Of just the attackers.
Yes, just the attackers.
But they're supposed to kill all the attackers and their families.
They're supposed to kill all the attackers.
Just the armed men.
Women and children.
Women and children too.
Oh, what?
Yes. The
All
order allowed Jews from each town to join together and defend their lives. The Jews were free to wipe out, kill, and destroy every army and any people and province that attacked them, along with their women and children.
Okay, so let me read it from this translation.
Yeah, mine doesn't say that.
What does yours say?
Mine basically, it says to destroy, kill, and annihilate the armed men of any nationality or province who might attack them and their women and children. It's talking about any armed men who attack them and their children. It's not saying that they
Yes.
go back and kill their women.
Yeah.
Right. It's a Hebrew thing on the translation. So any of the attackers that are attacking the Jewish women and children, we're going to get them too. So it's not the Hebrew. It probably is that, but we get it that it's not, even though it gets translated, and it is translated that way. Probably this other one is more accurate. It's not that we get to kill the women and the children of the attackers, but the attackers after our women and children. So it's a language thing. It's confusing, but so we do have those two options for translating. Option B is the one that I'm going with. The defensive and just the attackers, right? Not everybody. And both are just one day, right?
Right.
What's that?
I was just thinking, that's not the way Jews usually did it. When they went into Canaan, they took over those cities, they annihilated everybody that was there. All of them. Men, women, children. God was very specific about that. And remember, because the only reason Rahab and her family was spared was because they had been put in a special place.
Yeah, because she hid the spies.
It's just kind of interesting.
It is.
Mine is a footnote that says, or province, comma, together with their women and children who might attack them.
Okay, so if the women and children, if they're using them as part of the army, so, right, it gets a little confusing. The joy of Bible translation.
Really.
No, I mean, it is. So, I mean, that's part of the fun. But it's all on the same day, right?
Right.
Okay. It's just one day for both. One day. So they're being ready in case people carry this out. Right? They are allowed to
Defend themselves.
So, we have, annihilation or extinction. As opposed to staying alive.
think, it just occurred to me, I think that's also interesting, that the people were allowed to go in and get the Jews, but the Jews are not allowed to go out and get them. They are allowed to defend themselves, but they're not allowed to. They're not interested. Yeah.
So they're able to go, they have to stay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, again, we're not going to go on the offensive. What's up? Let's see.
Because the people on the red side, they could have decided that, oh, look, Haman made it up on a pole, and we shouldn't just either, and just chose not to do it. You know, chose not to attack the Jews because they just felt it was not the thing to do with it.
And this is like a general thing, right? I mean, general circumstance, here it all is. This is specific, only if they're attacking you. This doesn't matter. If they're attacking you or anything, just go do it. So, you know, complete genocide. Oh, let's see. I know he put extinction, staying alive, but this just came to me. This sounds like fun. Genocide as opposed to genesis. Like recreating life, God giving life. So, I mean, the people are going to be spared. We have life again, creation happening with the people. And what's the result? What happens to the, what's the result? What happens?
I'm not compared to chapter 9 or the end of chapter 8?
Well, I thought it was the end of chapter 8.
So, they're afraid of the Jews,
Who are?
the other nations.
Yes, and what do they do?
I think convert.
Yeah, it says they convert.
They convert to Jews. Now it's dangerous not to be really happy and they feast.
That's a, you know.
What's that, Diane and then Sandy?
It says not only that, but many non-Jews became Jews. Now it was dangerous not to be a Jew. Right. That's the last sentence in that chapter.
What did Haman want to do?
What about the Jews?
And now, what happened? Now there's even more.
You made more of them, dang it.
Now there's even more. You know, genocide, but now we have even more. This story just has such great irony in it.
It's all on one.
Yes. And the king not wanting to be involved. Okay, Mordecai, you and Esther, you write it out. Notice the temperament of Mordecai in this. He keeps it defensive. We're not going to go. We're not going to be on the attack. Probably earlier, he may have wanted that. Now it's tempered. And, you know, we're going to defend ourselves. Here's how we're going to do it. But that's all we're going to do is defend ourselves. They want to kill us. We're going to overcome, and then we're going to eat, right? That's next week. Questions, comments? Okay, next week, bring a noisemaker, bring your script, and bring a snack to share. we are going to feast. We're going to do a little bit of the Festival of Purim, which is a celebration that comes out of this story. 9 and 10 are pretty easy. It's really about the festival. Just a second, Beth. And important because within the expression of the Jewish faith, the festivals are always mindful of God's work in their life. Yes, Beth?
When I was reading chapter 9, I thought it was very interesting. Verse 17, they acted on the 13th day of the month of Adar, and on the, 16, end of 16. The total was 35,000 dead, but the Jews did not lay a hand on anything their enemies owned. Even though they were told they could, they didn't.
Yep.
Yeah, and I thought that was interesting. Even though that they were told they could, they didn't.
Mm-hmm.
The book's about Esther, and it's all about Esther, except that, when you're reading back when Mordecai reminded Esther that she wasn't safe just because she was living in the king's house, that he had the faith that God would provide. Mm-hmm. So it's really, to me, a story of Mordecai's faith and his patience, because he had the faith and he waited. He waited on God instead of trying to fix it. Like they always want to fix it.
Yeah.
It really shows Mordecai's faith.
I mean, because he could have, when Haman came up to him, angry at him because you're not going to bow down at me, Mordecai could have gone, oh yeah, here's my sword.
He could have done something or solicited someone else. Because he pointed out to her, if you don't do this, salvation will come through another way.
Yes.
Because he had such faith in God.
Awesome. Would someone like to close us in prayer? Thank you, Anne.
Dear Lord, we thank you for the time together. We ask you to help us use the words that we find here in the Bible. Even though we don't always understand, open our hearts and minds and help us to struggle with them and help us to find how they apply to us. Help us not to fix it ourselves, but to use your words to help us through daily life. Thank you for Jeff and his wisdom in trying to guide us and help us as we go through the week better serve you. Find ways to use our resources better for the church and to us community.
Amen. Thank you.
And tell me again what the director has to do on this.
All right, so